Alright, hello everyone, welcome to tracked mode on Sunday, May 7th. I don't know why I felt like I needed to say the date, but here we are. Today we have a very special Xenoblade showcase, because we have Xenoblade for a second time, technically third, if you count last. But second Xenoblade day, let's go. If you know me, you know Xenoblade. Hi, I'm Pcol, I'm the Xenoblade person here. But if you're just joining us, this is Lady Arcaders. We are an all women's gaming event, and we do showcases like this throughout the year on Thursdays and Sundays. And very special news: we are doing our second charity marathon called Lady Arcaders Super Showcase on July 6th to the 9th. And submissions for that are closing soon in like 2 or 3 weeks on the 20th. So you got few days left. So get those in. Hopefully we can see some new people showing some stuff off. But right now we have AlexisGoesMoo doing Xenoblade Future Connected all Ponspectors. This is different than 100%, but it's kind of the same thing. So if we're ready for Ponspectors Till We Die, then let's go for it.
Alright, hello everyone, I'm Alexis, and I'm gonna do just that. So we're gonna start in new game in 3, 2, 1, go. And we're gonna load for 15 seconds. We're in a story stuff, we're gonna crash land on a place called the Biana's Shoulder. And from there, we're gonna go and rescue these two Nopone.
Also, hi, I'm still here because I play Xenoblade.
Hello. Alright, so we switched to casual mode. That's super important because this is not normal. And if we were playing on that with the strats we're doing, this would be kind of hard. So anyways, here's our two Nopone. They're gonna be in front of us. This is also almost the only time we'll be playing as Melia, but we're actually going to switch to her, to another character, and then switch back in like a few seconds. But the hardest part of the run's right now. I have to do a menu.
Yeah, this menu is very long and very confusing.
Alright, bit of a new thing too. We're going to remove Earth. I'll explain why we do that in a little bit, but it's going to make the game super duper fast.
Yep. And we want to make sure we're playing as Shulk, because Shulk is kind of our main damage dealer. He's basically a glass cannon. He does a lot of damage, but can't take a lot of damage himself. But he also has a lot of positional effects, so you want to hit from the side or behind with Shulk. But he's our main damage dealer that we play as.
Yep, so we're going to have to make sure he's not getting attacked throughout the run. So we're going to at some point try to like hold off so he doesn't get aggro, because as was mentioned, all of his attacks, or mostly all of them, are really only good if you're hitting from the right position, so like the side or behind.
Yeah.
So anyways, go on a walk.
There's also a new thing that Definitive Edition, which is the version we're playing on, added, which is if your art has a special effect, like if it does more damage from the side or the back, it has a blue exclamation point on it, on the arts palette on the bottom, so you know that if it will do an additional effect, if it does have one.
Yeah, it's really good. They actually, in Future redeemed him. They put that behind an upgrade. It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
They did at least bring that over. I really like it. It makes learning this a lot easier.
We're also doing this showcase post Future Redeemed. Future Redeemed is the new DLC story that just came out like 2 weeks ago for Xenoblade 3. So this is post Future Redeemed, so we know stuff now that was in the story.
And I have been playing it basically non-stop since it came out, so hopefully I remember how to play Future Connected. We're gonna try to get this item orb. We want to get something called a Moro Cob. We didn't get one, but it's not a big deal because we're gonna get 3 guaranteed anyways.
Yep.
Alright, we're gonna warp here, and now here's Companion's Cape. We saw there was a town, we want to go here, and basically the next thing we're going to do is go to the high Antian capital, Alkaloth. That's where it is. So we're gonna go on a long, long walk to Alchemoth.
Yep. Alchemoth is basically Melia's home. Melia is part of a race called the High Antia, which are like slower aging people that have bird wings on their head. There's a lot of lore to explain, which I won't go into now, because we would be here forever.
Yep.
But that's basically all you need to know for right now.
Alright.
In Xenoblade 3, Alchemoth does become Keves Castle, because Xenoblade 3 has the whole thing about Keves and Agnes fighting against each other, so there's the two nations. Xenoblade 1 world becomes the nation of Keves, and Alchemoth becomes Keves Castle.
Yep, this is basically the story of how Melia becomes queen. And anyway, this is our first Ponspector. He's gonna explain the category. There's 12 Ponspectors, including him, and we're gonna want to find all of them because they're all scattered throughout the Bayonet shoulder doing survey work. They're supposed to be meeting 1-1, but they're all now separated, so he's gonna tell us to collect all of them, which we were gonna do anyway. But these guys basically join our party, and they kind of help with fighting, but they're mostly gonna be good for Union strikes. We just skipped the tutorial that explained what they do. And we're going to be doing our first one right now.
If you want to kind of think of it this way, they're basically the heroes from Xenoblade 3, which act like a 7th party member in your party. They help you in combat and do all that stuff, but they're not directly controllable. But you have more than one Ponspector at a time, unlike Xenoblade 3 where you can only have one hero at a time. So they're basically just extra party members that are not directly controllable.
Hello, Melia. Yeah, and this is going to be the one fight we do as Melia, just for aggro management. Yep. As these fish can be kind of hard to fight. Basically, they run away like that. And when they run away, I have to wait for them to come back and spawn. Hopefully they don't run away this time. But yeah,
this
basically,
fight can also be annoying because you have Knock-On. The Knock-On are also shorter, so if they go too deep in the water, they're going to start swimming. And you cannot fight in water in Xenoblade 1 like you can in Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
So that was not a thing
I feel like they know now how bad water fighting is. This is actually the only quest in the entirety of Future Connected that involves water. So after these two Sardis die, we will not fight in water for the rest of the game.
Yeah, which is good because Knock-On kind of suck in water.
Alright, and we did it. Got a little trolled with the fish running away, because what happens is they can't be on land, so like they despawn, and then you're a no-pwn, they can't go in because they're too close to the water and they're too short. And it can be a little harsh, but we did it. So anyway, now we're going to get some food for Evelyn. She wanted to eat a sandwich, but she dropped it in the water. And then we had to kill the Sardis for revenge. And now we're going to collect some food because he's still hungry. So there's our Morocabs. And we're going to get a skip travel point, and we have to go back to Evelyn. Then she will join our party. I think I have it off, sadly, but like, there would normally be a line of like 12 Ponspectors following us eventually, and it's kind of silly.
Yeah. It's basically Pikmin and Xenoblade, kind of. This Ponspector is also one that it used to be in the any percent route that you would get, because I think in the any percent route you get at least 3 of them. And this one used to be one that we get in any percent, but then it got routed out and changed for a different one that was faster.
Yes, and it's a good thing because Evelyn is very luck dependent, as we saw there with them running away. Anyways, we can kind of see Alchemoth. It's kind of obscured by the rain, but on our way there, we're going to do a bunch of detours and collect some Ponspector quests that we're going to do later.
Yeah, like I said during the intro, this category is basically just any percent, but without all the extra non-Ponspector quests that we do. So we're basically just doing Ponspector stuff. So just any percent, but like light mode 100%.
That's a pretty good way to put it. And see, there's going to be this big gate, and we're going to get it as a skip travel point, but you're going to see how far away we can be from it, because I'm just gonna keep heading in this direction to a Ponspector named Fafora, and I'm gonna get the skip travel point without having to do any additional movements. It's gonna be a place we warp to quite a few times later.
Yeah, this Zenithor of Paris skip travel point is like very important. Even if you're just playing casually, it's one of the places that you come back to the most.
Yep. And her problem is, she wants to go over to where she was looking, but there's these Chromars that are like lizard people that are in her way, and so the quest is going to be to kill 3 of them. We actually can see one here. But, we're going to be doing that in a little bit, because it's pretty low level, and those are like level 67, I think. Alright, we're going to do a bit of a skip here. I have to be careful because my HP is a little low, but we're good now.
Yeah, I always have trouble with this skip because I feel like whenever I try to do it, I go too early and I end up just dying.
It can be pretty harsh when, like, especially, like, if you take too much damage. Because, like, if they attack you, you're, like, basically not able to jump down right away. Anyways.
I know there's a safer way to do it, which is what I normally do, but I'm trying to learn a faster way.
Yeah. We're just gonna jump. If you jump, you can't, like, be interrupted, so it kind of helps a little. And there's gonna be another Ponspector, Ninoa. One thing I like is they always put skip travel points near most of the Ponspectors, so, like, we're gonna go up here and get one, and then we're gonna get Ninoa's quest. He's a Ponspector who thinks he's a god, and he wants us to do a quest to prove if we're worthy of his aid.
Yep.
Otherwise, he's not gonna join us.
It's also good that they have their own specific icon for seeing them from a distance, because normally in Xenoblade 1, quests are just like a white exclamation point, but you saw there before you talked to them, that they have like a little flag icon above their heads that you can see from pretty far away. So they're easier to find. Yeah,
they're really, really easy. So you can see them, like, they're probably like the furthest away thing you can see. Like, you can kind of, well, I guess the draw distance is pretty good, because we can see, like, that Crabble over there is pretty far away. But it's also, our view is a little obstructed by the rain right now.
We're also in this big area full of trees.
Alright, so we're going to be going to this quarry, and our goal is going to be to die and get a skip travel point right after we die. So hopefully that happens, even though these enemies are like level 70 something. Sometimes they cannot be cooperative in taking us down. What level are we? We're like 61. So we're very under leveled for this quarry. We're gonna have some Ponspector quests here. Well, that's the where Ninoa is. And it's gonna be story later. Wow, I got that really early. You can, like, warp to them kind of early sometimes.
It came up after you skip traveled. That was so quick.
Yeah, you can kind of do that for, we're going to be either doing that for Cloud Top, maybe, if I do quick enough. So we're going to jump here. I want to land near that egg. So now I'm not going to heal, which is good because we don't want to have Shulk survive. We're also going to have this giant unique monster attack us, which is also good. And now we're going to hope these Chromars attack us as well. The ones up here.
Yeah, because we need to get this skip travel point because we need to come back here later for story reasons.
Alright, unfortunately, we didn't die, so we need to wait a teeny bit more. Alright, they did it. Good job to all the enemies. It took about 7 of them to do 1 hit.
If you're doing normal mode, this is also the... I believe this is the point where you would push the enemies off the cliff to grind levels.
And, it's in, I think actually 100%, the category we did last for Lady Arcaders is actually the only category that we don't do the query super early in the run of all the categories. Because even 100% normal, you go to query right away. Usually we do just because it's, again, for the story as we mentioned, and then it just gives a lot of experience too. There's
also a unique monster in there, at least 2 of them I think. Because we passed a big spider and then there's another room that has a unique monster in it too.
The UMs there can be kind of hard. This is a scary UM that I don't like, and I do not like fighting, but thankfully we are not going to have to do anything with them. Instead, we're gonna go and fight some smaller spiders. They're called antles, though, but, this is kind of silly. There's only 2 surprise quests in the entirety of Future Connected, and they are both the same thing. There's gonna be 3 antles attacking someone. It's like they know how scary antles can be.
I didn't even realize that. Like, I
Yeah,
thought
it's really
100% of
silly
Future
once you
Connected.
realized it.
I've not played Future Connected casually in, like, probably since I first played it, honestly.
They really, really like this quest design here. So we're gonna take out one battle soul to get full gauge, and I'm gonna try to take out both of these pretty quickly.
There's also a whole thing about Xenoblade combat. There's this whole combo system that you have to do. We don't have to do it, but you really should, because then you're kind of playing the game wrong. But there's this whole system where you can break, topple, or daze enemies. And basically, it just stops enemies from attacking you and also increases your damage against them, so it's really helpful to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be really important for some of the later fights. For that fight, it's a little too fast, but once we get to the bosses, it's going to be really important to get breaks.
Yep.
Although, the first boss is a flying enemy, so that makes them immune to it in this game. It's so weird, because every time I face a flying enemy in, like, the later games, I always think I can't break them, but you can. It's, like, only Xenoblade 1, I think, you can't break flying enemies.
In the entirety of Xenoblade 2, there's only one enemy that's completely immune to break, and it's already a super boss anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
that makes sense. Super boss in this is immune, as well as the final boss, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, Alchemist,
Xenoblade,
almost there.
Xenoblade 1 only has break, topple, and daze. Xenoblade 2 has break, topple, launch, and smash. But Xenoblade 3 has kind of both, so it has break, topple, and then out of a topple you can either do daze or a burst, which is a new thing they added in 3, or you can do a launch and a smash. So Xenoblade 3 kind of has both, because Xenoblade 3 is like a combination of 1 and 2 for the entire game. But burst did not exist in Xenoblade 1. Xenoblade 1 only has a break, topple, daze. So burst was a new thing added in 3.
Yeah, and daze is like really short too. Like, we're gonna get a few dazes off, but it lasts like 1 second or so. Alright, almost Alchemoth. And we're not gonna be in Alchemoth too long. There's gonna be 1 Ponspector quest, and then 1 boss fight, and then we won't come here for a really, really long time.
The 1 Ponspector that we do here in Alchemoth is one of the few that we actually are required to do in any percent. So like even if you're just doing like basic any percent, you still have to do this quest.
And they're really easy too, because we don't have to fight anything. I feel like they like want you to do it here, because the story objective is, we're gonna see it soon, up that ramp, and the Ponspector quest is right next to him. Dry wants to be a high Entia, so he wants us to get some feathers. So we're gonna just go and do that. There's gonna be 5 scattered throughout the maps. That is such a strange idol name.
Xenoblade 1 has weird names. Well, all the Xenoblade games actually, but you know, whatever. You know what I mean.
Alright, so here's gonna be our feathers. There's gonna be like 1 here, and there's gonna be 2 over there. Then we're gonna do a skip travel. We're gonna make sure we get the skip travel point right there. So now we can go and warp, because warping is so fast in this game that it's like, even though we're in the same area, it's still faster to warp to. And that's gonna be the case for a lot of stuff. Right?
There was one time when I was doing a run of this for any percent, because I only do any percent. And I completely forgot to get the skip travel point, so I
did a run as Kino, like player character Kino, and I didn't get the skip travel point because he was too short to go and be in the water. I didn't know where I was movement-wise. Kino's very small. Much smaller than even Nene. Alright, we're gonna do a boss. We think this is the Fog King, but they're not the Fog King. They're just gonna be a bird. You can see there's a fog rift up there. And we see a lot of those in Future Redeemed recently. I found it like kind of weird because I used to them not being that common, but I saw so many people playing that.
Yeah, because they brought it back, because it's the future, and the future is now redeemed.
Alright, so we're gonna lose aggro. And then I'm gonna just hit them with the side arcs. We're gonna lose aggro again. Hit them from behind. Now we're just gonna finish them. Aggro is no big deal anymore.
You might also notice that the banner of the enemy where it says Noble Tails, that banner is yellow, but you also might have seen that banners on other enemies are brown or red. That indicates the level difference between you and the enemy. So if it's yellow like that, I believe it's like a difference of like 5 or 6 levels. If it's a brown banner, it's like they're around the same level as you, like maybe a difference of like 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 levels. If they have a red banner, they're like, I believe, like at least 10 levels higher than you. So red banner enemies are really dangerous.
Thankfully, we mostly will be avoiding. We actually will fight 2 things that are red banners. And since this is casual mode, we don't have the agility debuff, but there's still going to be a lot of times where we miss them, so they're going to be kind of scary fights. But most of the fights we do, we're going to be roughly around the level. So anyway, we saved someone named Taylene, and now we're going to go to the laboratory. Thank goodness they have these story memos. Makes it very easy to show people what is going on. So here's Taylene's laboratory. There's also a character named Tyraya we met. She's from Xenoblade 1 as well. But Taylene's not that big in it. I think he's part of like a side quest.
Yeah, he was, there was a side quest of Taylene in base game, where he basically wants to help repair Alchemov and like return all the Hyantia back into Hyantia, because there's a point in Xenoblade 1 where Hyantia get turned into a monster called Telephia, and he wants to turn the Telephia back into Hyantia so he can save his people. But that's also dedicated to a side quest, so if you don't do that side quest, then you might not know who this character is.
Yeah. I actually recently replayed Xenoblade 1, so I do now remember Taylene. He's near, like, I call them windmills in, like, RFC somewhere.
Yeah. I need to play Xenoblade 1 again. I mostly have experience with 2 and 3.
I've never done Tyraya's quest, by the way, the one that's voiced in Xenoblade 1. So, like, Tyraya's mostly just the Future Connected character to me.
Yeah, Tyraya is a very special character because she's the only character in the game where she has an entirely voiced side quest in Xenoblade 1, compared to Xenoblade 2 and 3, where a lot of side quests with important characters like your heroes or blades in 2 and 3 are voiced.
Alright, we're gonna get a Ponspector quest. Hopefully I do not fall. Alright, we did it. We didn't walk off the edge. Technically, sometimes my controller is like pretty bad drift, so there's actually a real chance for me just to fall there. Here's that set.
I don't have drift on my controllers because I've been lucky to avoid Switch controller drift for like, I don't even know how long I've had my Switch, like probably 5 years or something.
Yeah, I've had mine.
I've been lucky to avoid it the entire time, but I still always get scared that I'm gonna fall off the ledge.
Alright, we gotta avoid these caterpillars. Caterpillars, that's what they're called. If they were to have seen me, I would have gotten binded, and then I can't walk forward, and that would just be a bit slow.
Yeah. Bind is a very annoying status effect that stops you from moving. I think you can still attack while you're in it if you're close enough to the enemy, but it completely stops you from moving.
So now we're gonna go to Grandel. It's pretty easy to see. It's not that really cool tower, actually, where there's a town below that really cool tower that we won't be seeing. It could be kind of funny to climb up there, though, because it's really, really janky.
Yeah. And there is a secret area up there, which, locations and secret areas in Xenoblade, they give you more experience. secret areas give more experience than normal locations and landmarks.
If this were normal all Ponspectors, we actually would go and climb up there for the experience of the secret area. But since this is casual, we don't have to worry too much about levels.
Yeah. Future Connected also starts you at like level 60 for some reason instead of level 1 like Torna and Future Redeemed does.
Hello, 1-1. 1-1's gonna tell us to do the category as well. We have to do his quest after we find all 11 other Ponspectors and finish their quest. Anyway, here is Grandel. Yeah, it's kind of is weird we start level 60. I was actually thinking about that once I was playing Future Redeemed. Because, like, yeah, Torna and FR, like, both get you already at 1. And we're gonna do some shopping.
I'm still trying to grind levels in Future Redeemed because I've already done all the side quests and, like, I'm trying to fight, like, the last few unique monsters and I'm not even 99 yet, so I don't know how to grind.
Alright, we're gonna go and equip this stuff, and then we're gonna do some arts. We're actually gonna upgrade Buster. We only are gonna use it a few times in the run, though. And then I'm just gonna upgrade, like, the arts that I'm planning on using.
We're leveling up at Melia, though, even though we don't really control her, just because we still gotta level her up as an AI.
Yeah, and this is gonna be where me removing Earth comes in. Basically, I figured out by doing that, it makes her... Thank you, FR. That was some FR muscle memory coming in. I do not need to hit X to open the map, but yeah, so she's gonna use Ice. You're gonna see her say Summon Ice, and she does that because she doesn't have Earth equipped.
Yeah.
So
and most of Melia's Earth, or elements, you can kind of see them floating above her head. Whenever she has an element floating above her head, it does like a certain like buff effect to your party. I don't remember what all of them are off the top of my head, but I know one of them does like poison damage to enemy, one of them heals your party, one of them does like ice or burn damage or whatever. But as long as they're floating above your head, Melia's head, then you get those buffs.
Yep.
But if she decides to shoot them at the enemy, then those are her main forms of attacking.
Yeah, unfortunately, Melia, she tends to use the art so fast that it's hard for us to go and actually get the buffs. But anyway, these fights went pretty well. I need to get full party gauge for upcoming boss fights. But yeah, what we did in those fights is, you notice I use focus attacks. I basically do that to direct the AI not to attack something that's already gonna be dead anyway. We'll be doing it for this fight as well.
So this is a red banner boss, so it's gonna be doing a lot. This is also our first Union Strike thing, which replaces chain attacks in the base game. Chain attacks I feel like I like better because they're just more intuitive. But Union Strikes are basically the 3 quick time events that you do increase the meter in the bottom right, and the more you increase that meter, the more damage it does. But you also have 3 effects that you can do. You can do a huge damage dealing one, which I believe is the one that we just did. You can also do one that heals your entire party, or you can do one that I think forces daze on all enemies.
Yeah.
So you kind of pick and choose what you want.
Although, sadly for this category, we're only going to be using the red one just to do a lot of damage. As we usually don't have to worry too much about survivability in this category. And I am going to be doing some marathon strats for the final boss as well, so that will be pretty safe. So anyway, now we're going to look for High Ether, but we're actually just going to do a bunch of side quests first.
There is also a chance, I'm not entirely sure what activates it. There is a chance that sometimes when you do Union Strike, it gives you a chance to do a second effect for it, but the catch is that it doesn't allow you to redo the same effect twice in a row. So if you do the effect that does a damage and you get that chance to redo a Union Strike, then you're forced to either do the Daze All or the Heal Party Members one. Yep. I'm not entirely sure what activates that chance to reactivate it.
Just based on getting lucky. Hopefully we don't see it this as run, as since we can't do the red one again, it's basically not very useful. Although most of the time when we do a Union Strike, we win, so we won't have a chance for that. Because if we win, we can't get extra chance.
I remember when I was playing this casually, I barely got the second chance to activate. Like, I probably got it only like a few times, so I'm not really entirely sure what makes it activate.
Alright, so we gotta go and do Tutu's quest. What's nice is the quest, even though we haven't collected the quest yet, we can already get the item, and we need to get a mirror, because he's otherwise going to keep staring at himself in the mirror. And, I mean, he's staring at himself in the water, so if we don't get him his mirror, he's never going to go back to 1-1. Yep. And Tutu's going to be over here.
This is also the Ponspector that replaced the first one that we did with the fish in 90%. So if you do any percent now, this is the one that you would do instead of the fish Ponspector.
Yeah, it's a lot better because you can see you kind of can see a giant turtle is chasing us, but we don't have to fight them. So it's really good to do a Ponspector quest that you don't have to fight for, because that way you don't have to worry about what level you are or like fight strats. You just talk to the Ponspector and you get the rest.
Yep, and just like the tutorials in this game say, running away is a valid tactic.
Running away is a very valid tactic.
So if you feel like you can't fight something or you just don't want to, you can just run away. So we just run away from that giant unique monster turtle, and it de-aggroes us and just leaves us alone, and we can complete the quest.
Alright, so then we're actually going to sidetrack a little bit. I like how I call it sidetracking. This is actually the main story we're doing for a little bit, just because if we get this quest flag, we can skip another quest flag, and it's right near where a Ponspector goal is. But now we're going to do the main event. Time for more Ponspectors. We need help with Fora with her Chromars. They're literally called inconvenient Chromars because they're blocking her way. So we're going to take them out. I love
Xenoblade names. So good.
Alright. Hopefully I get there's the meter. If you want to explain the party gauge, I need to get the party gauge full for this.
So the party gauge is that blue meter in the top left above Shulk's icon. Every time you are in a fight, that raises every time you do something like just attacking enemy. It raises more every time you get like a critical hit or block an attack or an evade an attack. Basically, every good thing that you do raises that meter. Every bad thing that you do, it doesn't drain it, but it's not helpful to not raise it. So you might as well just be trying to do as much as you can to raise it. And then once you get those 3 bars full, that's when you can do a Union Strike or a Chain Attack in the base game. But it does drain while you're outside of fights, so if you run away after this fight, it will drain over time eventually until it reaches the end of the meter.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, that was the fastest fight that I ever got in my life for that. But unfortunately, we didn't get any party gauge because how fast the fight was. That was very silly. I must have got like a lot of crits. So we sadly had to actually fight them.
Another thing that the party meter is for reviving your party members if they die. Every time you die, one of your party members has to revive you, but that wastes 1 charge of your party meter. So you kind of like to do risk reward. Like, do you want to use a chain attack or a union strike, use all your meter at once, or do you want to play it safe and if you die, make sure you have meter? Because if you don't have meter and your party members all die and you can't revive anyone, then you just have to restart that fight.
Yeah, it definitely can be a little scary because we're so aggressive with using Union Strike that we basically spend the entire game with empty party gauge. And that would be very bad to game over, mostly on the final boss, because it just kicks you back to the title screen, which is kind of mean, but hopefully I have a safe strat for it with gauge, so we should be good there. So anyway, we did both Noah and the Forest Quest in one. Forest Quest is kind of silly. It turns out that he just lost his license to being a Ponspector, and that's really what he wanted to skip back.
and you can see just how often we have to skip travel to this one skip travel point.
Yeah, we just
Zen's
skipped travel
Repair
like
is just
3 times.
Zen's Repair is just very useful.
Alright, so now we're going to turn in Fafora's quest, and we're going to start Fafa's quest. Although she's really far away. The Ponspector names, I don't know if we mentioned yet, they're like based on numbers.
Yeah.
So that makes sense why they're a bit odd names. Here she is.
Yeah, there's about 12 of them. Yeah, there's 1-1, which is just 2 ones. There's 2-2, which is just 2 twos. There's Dry, which apparently is German for 3, according to the Xenoblade Wiki. Vafora is 4, Fifa is 5, Hexa is 6, because Hexa is 6. Setse is 7, because apparently Sept is French for 7, and Sept is the Latin radical, which I don't know how you figure that out. Tete is 8, Nona is 9, because of 9 known and 9 Latin prefix, apparently. Deca is 10, because Deca is 10. Evelyn is just an anagram of 11, and then there's 10-2, which is just 10 and 2, which is 12.
I just realized, I probably knew, but I forgot how 10-2 works. But yeah, it does make sense for him to be 12. And
not me reading off the Xenoblade Wiki right now. Definitely did not just read off the Xenoblade Wiki. I definitely would not just do that.
We would never do such a thing.
It's not like I go on the Xenoblade Wiki like multiple times per day. I definitely don't do that. Definitely not me.
Anyway, we actually need an item called a Sky Mole, but we haven't got one yet, but don't worry, there's a bunch of chances that are going to be coming up any second now. Speaking of them, there's Heska. She's actually the most far away Ponspector. We were talking about earlier how they're really nice, how they're near skip travel points. She likes to be very far from a skip travel point. There is going to be a secret area that's kind of close, but it's still like a minute of a walk.
Yeah. But it's also a secret area, so it gives you more experience.
Alright, we got our stake. She wants us to plant a stake near Chunks. And we're going to do that right after we get the secret area. It's going to be Cloud Top Lookout. And it's right to, like, the south of us. So we're going to go up here and fall down. And hopefully that item over there is a Sky Mole. We saw it a little bit in the distance. Here we go. Oh, yay, we got a Sky Mole. Alright.
Let's go.
Very good. Now we just need to get the Cloud Top. We need that for, Fafa, that's her name. We did Fafora already. Fafa's the next one, I remember. Their names are kind of similar, so I sometimes get confused on them. Alright, here we go. Now we're gonna go back to Napa Crossroads.
Let's go.
Which is where we were at the, like, beginning of the game, and we're gonna plant the stake. And then we're gonna go right back to Heska, because her quest has 2 parts to it, kind of like before I did. Although we're not gonna do the second part until a bit later.
Yeah, I believe the second part is the part where you fight all the nebulas. Unless I'm thinking of a different quest, I don't know.
I think the Nebula one is like it's in Companion's Cave. For hers, we're just gonna fight 1 Turkin, hopefully only 1. Because if I mess up or get unlucky, there will be many, many Turkins. At that point, I'll probably just run off the cliff, because it's quicker to respawn than actually fight an army of Turkey people. It's very hard to fight them. They're always in really large groups in all the Xenoblade games.
Yeah, Turkins are kind of wild. They kind of like just group up on you. They're also like weird enemies for some reason. I think they're like one of the few enemies in Xenoblade series that can talk, but the way they talk is just like very broken British English.
Alright, we're gonna turn in our stake, and then the Turkins we just mentioned, they stole it. So that's very unfortunate, and we're gonna deal with that in a little bit.
This isn't going well.
Is that all the backbone you
just gonna warp here to save a few seconds. And here is Fafa. Her quest is 2 parts as well. 1, get a Sky Mole. 2, fight an enemy called a Ferris. They're basically lions. And we're gonna try to fight a lower level one that spawns after we turn in the Sky Mole. But if they're grouped together with a bunch of enemies, we're gonna fight a higher level one that's far away from enemies. So here we are. Alright, we landed right into that fight, actually.
Another thing with the banners, you might see on the right side of the banner, there's a little eye icon. That icon indicates how enemies detect you. If they have that eye icon, they're based on vision and sight. So if they see you and they're aggressive, they're going to start a fight with you. Some enemies are not aggressive. They're still based on sight, so if you attack them, they're going to start attacking you. Some enemies are based on hearing. So you might have seen in one of the caves we were in earlier, there were these like little spider pod things, which had like an audio icon above them. Those are hearing-based enemies. So if you walk very fast by them, like you go your full walk speed by them, they're gonna activate and start aggroing you. But you can walk slower and not have them aggro you if you walk by them.
And we'll actually be seeing that in a little bit. After these boss fights, we'll have to, hopefully we won't have to walk slow, but you will see. Here's Big Mammoth.
This is the part in the game where you have to do like 3 boss fights in a row, basically. You have to fight this Lakelet Mammoth. Shout out weird Xenoblade names. And then I think you have to fight like a big Queen Arachno and then a massive Dinos enemy. And they're also all fog enemies. These are enemies that have been basically corrupted by the Fog King. They're basically more powerful versions of normal enemies. Fog stuff is a lot of lore stuff that I probably won't get into right now because it would be here forever. And would also kind of spoil future redeems.
Yeah, sadly, since Future Redeemed is pretty, like, recently out, it's been like a little over 10 days, probably shouldn't spoil, but they actually do mention some stuff from Future Connected. They also have this song, which is really good, and it plays way more in Future Redeemed, and I get happy every time. Sadly, we don't get to hear the Fog Beast theme very much in this game. And
Future Redeemed has a lot of Xenoblade 1 references. Probably more than Base Game. I feel like Base Game 3 has more 2 references than 1, but Future Redeemed has more 1 references than 2.
Yes, I'm much more remembering of 1, so I got like super excited so many times when playing Future Redeemed. I don't want to spoil, but there's like some really cool Xenoblade 1 stuff in there.
I love that there's 2 things called Future now. It's so good. It's definitely not confusing at all.
I wonder if did they name it Future Redeemed, like, because of Future Connected? I wonder if they probably did.
Maybe, they might have.
Alright, so anyway, we're gonna do Heska, and we also got a guy called Tite. His quest is we need to get a charm. We're gonna go get the landmark for where we can skip travel, but we're gonna actually do Heska's quest first, because they're both nearby.
There's a big cave area up here that we need to go into, because once we do all the Ponspectors, we're gonna have to fight a massive enemy in there.
Yes, and it's very nice that they don't require that in this category, because that boss is very difficult. We have to do it 100%, but with the current setup I'm going to have at the end of this run, I will be too weak to actually beat that said boss, because they're like the super boss of this, and they're quite hard. So we got our skip travel points, and now
if you remember the
Melius
100% run, if you remember the 100% run we did a while ago, that boss is a giant, like, level 80 plus dragon that has a ton of like spike damage that like hits you every time you hit it. So like every time you attack the boss, it just attacks you back with spikes. It's very annoying.
I actually learned the normal 100% since we've done that run, and that dragon is the scariest thing that I've like done in a speedrun on normal.
Even when I was playing this casually, it took me forever to take down. Because it's so hard. I'm not as good at Xenoblade 1 combat as I am with 2 or 3, because I just don't understand it as well.
Alright, there's our Tarkin. Thankfully the enemies didn't see me. There's a Watcher one, and if they see you, they pull every single one of those guys around there. And the fastest backup is just to run off the cliff. And here's going to be the stealth part with spiders. They look like they're in kind of a hard position right now. We'll try to.
So you can see the audio symbol on their banner. That means they're an audio-based enemy too.
Yep, and I did get seen, but it's an egg, so it hatches, and then it can't attack me. So it's all.
You also can't pick up item orbs when you're in a fight or running away. So you have to make sure that they de-aggro you first before you can pick up the item.
That is the best change for Xenoblade 3, by the way.
Yeah.
I love being able to just pick up item orbs while in combat. So yeah, it would be really bad if I would have gotten seen. Because then we have to go and do a fight with some enemies. Anyway, we're now going to climb here once again to turn in Heska's quest, and we're almost done with Ponspectors now. We have to get Set, which was the one we got a really long time ago, and then we can do 1-1.
Yep, 1-1 is our last one. 1-1 is our last 1-1. Let's go. Just thought of that right now. I'm so good.
Right, there's also something I do kind of find funny, and it's good. We're gonna see it soon. So you remember we were fighting those bosses earlier? There's a third boss in it, but everything's like on fire at the ramparts, and we're just doing some side quests instead. We're actually gonna see it in the distance while we're doing the side quests, so they're fine. We're just gonna give them a little bit of time.
There's definitely not a giant dinosaur trying to kill everyone. Don't worry about it.
Also, I actually hope this happens. It'd be very silly for a Marathon run. So sometimes all the enemies can despawn. Sadly, it did not happen. But if they all would have despawned, we wouldn't be able to finish the run without loading a save. But it would be very funny because we can go over to that place and just run around like the area with the fire and stuff. And the whole map is just very fun to run around with no enemies. But sadly, the enemies did not despawn. So we have to.
Funny thing is, though, that if you do want to run around the Bionic Shoulder with no enemies, you can hack the original Wii version of this game, and you can play around on the Bionic Shoulder. It's not as expansive as this because it was originally built as an area that was ended up getting cut out of the final game for Xenoblade 1, but it's still in the data of the disc for Xenoblade 1. So if you hack the original Wii version of Xenoblade 1, you can actually run around in the Bionic Shoulder area. There is also a glitch you can do in the Definitive Edition where one of the challenge battles in the challenge battle mode takes place on the Bionic Shoulder area. And I don't exactly know how to do it, but you can like glitch out of like the fight arena and then bring your other base game party members into Future Connected. It's not really as expansive as Future Connected because you're not really supposed to do it, and there's a lot of like invisible ground. But you can bring characters other than Shulk and Melee from base game into the Bionic Shoulder.
I actually did not know that, as I've never really played Challenge Mode or much of the outside of FC actually.
I don't even know how to do it, but I know it exists. Yo, full bonus damage, let's go. It's honestly kind of hard for me to get full bonus damage on Union's Trace because the quick time events happens like right in the middle of the screen where all the other action stuff is. So it's hard for me to like see the timing for it on the B button press.
Yeah, it can be pretty hard. I have a lot of trouble especially with Burst Affinity, which is like when we're in the middle of a fight and you see like a little prompt just like the Ponspector ones come up. What's really funny, we might see this on the final boss. If the final boss is doing an art while you get Burst Affinity, the game has really, really bad slowdown, and it makes timing a little bit harder than usual. Anyways, we did Setsu's quest, we had to fight some birds, we also fought a dinosaur, and now we have one more Ponspector and one more story boss. We're gonna do the Ponspector first.
We're all level 69, nice. Just like the July 6th to 9th, which are the dates for last, so get your submissions in soon. Because those are closing May 20th. Shameless plug, let's go.
Right, I'm pretty sure I submitted this, and then I also submitted like a bid war for player character for any percent for Shulk, Melia, or Nene. Because you can do any percent casual as all three characters pretty consistently. It's obviously faster to use Shulk though, because positional attacks.
Yep. I feel like when I played this, Kino is my least used character just because he's not really that powerful and he's supposed to be a healer, and I don't really like the healers in Xenoblade 1.
Yeah, they have made healers a lot better to play as in the newer games. I actually like playing as them in 3 a lot, but sadly in this, healers are kind of boring to play as. I did one run as player character Kino, and it's just me sitting there and cheering my party members on to finish the game for me. So not much playing. We're gonna save here.
Yeah. Healers are actually a lot better in Xenoblade 3 because, as we mentioned earlier, you need chain tech party meter gauge to be able to revive party members. In Xenoblade 3, instead of a meter, your chain attack gauge is a circle, and they make it so that healers are the only characters that can revive party members, but it doesn't use any chain attack party meter. So you kind of need a healer on your team at all times if you want to be safe. You can be risky and not have healers at all, but then if someone dies, then you're just kind of screwed.
Sadly, they did not get knocked off the cliff, so I am going to reload my save. The goal here would be for Nene to knock them off the cliff, but I didn't.
I don't know if I've ever seen this strat. I've seen the strat with the Orlugas in the cave that we were in earlier, but I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, I've used Nene for it because she has more knockback. We'll see if we get it this time. Alright, hopefully that time we worked. Ah, we didn't get it. Alright, I'm gonna just fight them next time then.
That was close though. Right on the ledge. But I see what you're trying to do though. You're trying to use Sword Drive because that's like one of the most like knockback heavy attacks in the game. It's also just a very powerful attack in general. But it does a lot of knockback.
Alright, so instead we're gonna go to Shulk, and we're gonna just do the fight. This will help in a way though, because we will get party gauge for an upcoming final fight.
And you saw that burst affinity there. There was the 5 knock-on symbols that came up on screen. The better you do on burst affinity, the more damage you do at the start of fights. As long as you're the one who starts the fight when you get the burst affinity. That's also a mid-battle burst affinity that we talked about earlier. That you saw how much that filled up the party gauge in the top left.
Alright, now we're done with 1-1. And I got full party gauge, which will help us for the final boss.
I believe Xenoblade 1 is the only one that has mid-battle quick-time events like that. Which is probably why they got rid of it, because I think they realized that people don't really like random quick-time events in the middle of a fight.
Yes. I think this and X has them, but then after X they got rid of them. And I like that actually, as burst affinity can be kind of hard to go and get in the middle of a fight.
I'm way more used to 2 and 3 combat where you get the cancel attacks and increase damage for canceling.
Although, almost to the final fight. So they're gonna now tell us to go and fight. We're gonna go to the Necropolis and fight the dragon, but that's not required, so we're gonna go to Fog King instead.
Thankfully, we don't have to fight the giant dragon.
Yes, because our levels are very low, and I would basically just sit there and game over forever. I could load like a save from the 100% practice, but otherwise we are not going to be winning at this level. Or like what, level 69 will be 70 the time we get to the boss, which is much, much too low. I also do not have spike resist gems, so that would be a bit rough.
That would not be good. But thankfully we don't have to do anything else in Alkabuff because we're not doing 100%, so we can just go to the boss.
Yep. And actually, I remember this from when we did 100%. You mentioned fighting this for gauge, and I am going to do just that. As full gauge will help quite a bit for Fog King.
Yep. Because it does drain out of battle, so the entire time we spent walking up here, the bar was draining. So it'd be better to have it more full than it was.
Alright, and we're at full, and now we're just gonna go on a journey. We also got Burst Affinity. So now it's gonna run out, but I'm gonna have full gauge for Fog King, and that's gonna make a pretty big difference. And we're also gonna do a very silly Union Strike coming up. Normally, we're gonna try to do good on the QTE, but if I were to do good, or even like a little bit good on it, we'd kill the boss too quickly for Phase 1. And we wouldn't have full gauge for Phase 2. So, I'm gonna do a Union Strike, and I'm just going to set the controller down when we get to it, just to make sure I don't accidentally overkill the boss. So I can hit them on the side. We got a block, sadly, so we can kill it. Come on, Mini. Good job.
Yeah, we don't want Shulk to have aggro here because he's very squishy and he's gonna take a lot of damage.
Alright. And now I have the controller set down, and the Union Strike will take out the Knights. You can see there are these little like red glowy dots. Those are Fog Knights, and Fog Knights are very scary. So we want to make sure we get rid of them.
And there is 2 phases to this fight, so after this phase is done, there is a second phase that we have to worry about. And it is dazed right now, which means we're doing extra damage, but as we mentioned, dazed does not last very long.
Alright, and now we're just going to be waiting to see if we get Burst Affinity. Alright, and we got it, and end the Phase 1. So time for Phase 2.
We're just gonna carry this into Phase 2.
So first, we're gonna try to get their defense down. And we did. Now we're actually gonna do a Union Strike, for real this time.
Ponspectors, heed my call.
Try to get as much damage as we can.
Alright, pretty good for that one. And now we're gonna Shadow Eye, and we don't want to be facing the boss, as they have an attack that can attack us and daze the entire party.
Yeah.
No,
the reason we use Shadow Eye is because it lowers Shulk's aggro, so it's usually get enemies off of him, but it also does increase his damage for his physical attacks, which most of his attacks are physical. Shadow Eye is really good for Shulk.
Also, time is gonna come up. I ended up getting Gauge, so we can just end with the Union Strike.
Go. Shout us the chant.
Alright, and that is time.
Fog King is dead, let's go.
No use! It keep happening!
There's Future Connected again,
Don't give up.
Capers.
No
But where can we find you if we want to find you?
Down just the same. Our future must be kept safe. What? Telethia? Why? What? What on Bionis?
Melia, for whatever reason, those explosions seem to be distorting and destabilizing the rift.
Incredible.
Alright, and there is gonna be the Telethia, actually. There they appeared.
Fine. Time to finish this.
I'm gonna do any
Please,
shoutouts or
buy me
anything.
some time.
Let's see, I'm mostly gonna eventually be, doing this category, as I have another event for it, and then I'm also running Future Redeemed right now, so lots of Xenoblade stuff for me in the future, though I haven't been streaming my Future Redeemed runs yet.
Grant me your strength, friend.
I'll start soon.
I'm considering learning future games, but I gotta finish up my 100% playthrough and do all Eating Monsters and stuff. But yeah, that's it for Xenoblade for today, gamers. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitch and Twitter at Pcol6754. You can message me and we can talk about Xenoblade, because that's apparently all I ever do online. That's my entire internet personality, I guess. Alright gamers, that was Xenoblade for today. Join us next time for more Xenoblade. But also technically not, because the next showcase is mine. If you want to hear one of my voice, I'm going to be playing Smash Ultimate, but I'm going to be playing through the Pirate Mythra DLC that came out like 2 years ago. Where Pirate Mythra from Xenoblade 2 became playable characters, and they came out with a bunch of like spirits and stages and stuff. So I'm going to be playing through that and explaining as much Xenoblade 2 references as I can. You can think of it as a precursor to a Xenoblade lore showcase branch that I want to do once I actually get stuff ready for that. So if you want to come back later this week for more Xenoblade, you can do that. Also, again, we are still accepting submissions for later tiers Super Showcase in July. We got like 2 weeks, I guess, for that. So do that, and then come back next week for Xenoblade, and we're gonna raid. I don't know who we're raiding yet. Raiding someone. We're gonna raid someone online, so you can stay for that.